Hello, welcome to Rough Cut Film Review. Last week I reviewed movie 43 and it was an absolutely horrific experience, but it's got me thinking, which is worse, movie 43 or Keith Lemon, the film? Now there are some similarities between the two. Firstly, they're both horrendous comedies that aren't funny at all. And the other thing they've got in common is they both feature a lot of celebrities. One's got Hollywood stars, the other one has got, the Spice Girls and Ronan Keating. But still, it's a similar idea. And I really hope that in both instances, some agents actually got fired for putting the stars in these films. So Keith Lemon, he's a comic creation, he's a comic character from a series called Celebrity Juice, or he's on Celebrity Juice or something like this. Now, to be honest, I've never seen this. It's on ITV, and that generally puts me off things. As I understand it, it's the same bloke that made Bo Selector, which again isn't my cup of tea. I didn't think his Craig David jokes were particularly funny, but there we are. I'm not even going to bother talking about the director or anything behind the scenes on Keith Lemon, the film. I'm just going to ignore it. It's not. Basically, they're not doing a very good job, and there's really nothing to talk about, really. They're not anyone of any substance or note, and, let's just not bother. So it's about an hour and 20 minutes, and there's nowhere near enough material to last for an hour and 20 minutes. Mini-Me turns up early on in the film as the Fixer. Now, I remember an episode of Black Books where there was a Fixer character who was also a midget, so I think they've just borrowed that idea from Black Books, which I thought was very, very funny. So the plot for this film is very simple. A northern man comes down south to seek his fortune, and actually, due to a strange plot contrivance, even this simple setup makes absolutely no sense. For some reason, Keith Lemon ends up being on television somewhere at the beginning. He gets on television onto David Hasselhoff's TV program, and then for some reason he invents the Lemon phone, and then everybody suddenly loves him. As the Lemon phone becomes an overnight global super smash success story, he quickly forgets about his girlfriend and friends up north and starts acting. Well, I was going to say unpleasantly, but unfortunately he struck me as a deeply unpleasant character at the beginning when he's supposed to be likeable, so there we are. It's an incredibly out-of-date premise, and Keith Lemon says things like, and I'm going to have to swear here unfortunately, fit as fuck, I would go balls deep on that. The other strange thing about this really is that for an entrepreneur who made his fortune on the Lemon phone, he always seems to be using an old-fashioned landline and never using the phone itself. Despite the age of the concept here, it still relies on the protagonist being likeable and relatable. That's how people are going to engage with this character. Keith Lemon is a hideous character. He's the antithesis of a sweet and likeable character, which is exactly what we needed here. He says things like, thanks for letting me seagull all over your bangers. I mean, that line comes up repeatedly, and he says horrible things throughout. He needed to be childlike and sweet and naive, but he's none of those things. He's just horrible. So we've got scenes, for example, where Keith Lemon is in public, and he's imagining getting oral sex from his girlfriend, in public. So, he's moving around into different positions and groaning, and we can see his pixelated genitals. And you think, oh, this isn't funny. Piranha earrings, is that funny? He's got a couple of piranhas on plinths, as he says, and he gives them to Kelly Brook as earrings. No, Kelly Brook, surely this is the final disaster in her disaster-strewn acting career. She's terrible. Here we see her in a fancy restaurant sucking on a sausage for all her life is worth, and apparently this fancy restaurant sells bangers and mash. Keith Lemon also refers to her minge hole at least once, which frankly is just horrible. Here are some of the vaguely famous people that appear in Keith Lemon the movie. There's Emma Bunton, there's Sporty Spice, Gary Barlow, Billy Ocean, David Hasselhoff, Ronan Keating, Philip Schofield, Denise Van Outen, Jedward, Peter Andre and Jason Donovan. Now some of them like Jedward or Peter Andre you might well expect to be showing up in this kind of dross, but others like Billy Ocean, you think, what on earth is this person doing showing up in this film? Why have they done that to themselves? In summary, it's worth mentioning this film doesn't raise any laughs whatsoever, or anything like a laugh. It's just not funny. Like movie 43, this is absolutely terrible. The quality here is just scraping the barrel, lowest of the low, lowest common denominator, no thoughts gone into it whatsoever. So, which is the better film? And better is obviously a very relative term. I'd probably say that this wins just purely by virtue of the fact that movie 43 tried its best to be more disgusting, and therefore this ends up being slightly less nasty, although don't get me wrong, this is completely nasty. Jokes about premature ejaculation, where our lovable hero squirts buckets of semen over his own face while Kelly Brook looks on. You betcha that's in here. You won't laugh though. The outtakes during the closing credits show the actors had a high old time making this film. Good for them. I don't think it was worth it. Apparently the secret of comedy is not timing. it's being as horrible as possible and doing as disgusting a thing as possible and putting no thought into it or respecting your audience. Kind regards, Christopher Thomas.